I spent my first 6 years in Queens Village, New York. And then we moved to Great Neck in 1955, and with the exception of 1 year that I lived in Baltimore when I was a freshman at Johns Hopkins, I've lived my entire life within a mile of where I grew up. And a mile, in fact, my mom is still in the house I grew up in.
Wow.
So.
And by the way, our bios are not on the website.
No, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Garcia, his second inning of work here.
And I believe this is John Platt, who struck out swinging his first at bat. And he's back at the plate with a count of 1-2.
John's approach to hitting is you should swing as hard as possible because
Hope you hit it.
You might hit it, yeah.
Well, if he does, he's going to hit a fastball probably. That one just misses off the inside part of the plate. Count evens up at 2-2.
So Garcia is still throwing strikes.
Garcia, obviously, with money in the meter, wants to get to the car before it expires, pitching quickly. And that pitch is slapped into center field for a leadoff single for Platt. So he's on at first for Dan Galbraith. Galbraith, 31 years old, 5'9", an account manager for Image Tech Office Supply, and lives in Ozone Park, New York. Originally from Bayshore. And I love the little sidebars, information. He's been playing baseball since he was 7. Favorite baseball player, Ken Griffey Jr.
There you go.
One of the nicest swings you will ever see in the history of baseball.
Had a great career, but not as
much as
great
he thought
a career as everybody. Right, exactly.
You know, he played the game so hard. You know, guys like Fred Lynn used to play for the Angels. He was that type of a player. Ground ball to third and can't come up with it. That'll go for an error. And now we'll have runners at first and second. You know, you think of guys like Griffey, you know, just running into walls. Fred Lynn, like I said, would have been an amazing career. Rookie of the Year MVP his first season. And guys like that, you got to love the way they play the game. And, of course, the interesting thing about Ken Griffey, do you know his hometown?
No, I don't.
Donora, Pennsylvania.
Donora, Pennsylvania.
Name me a Hall of Famer from another Hall of Famer from Donora, Pennsylvania.
Ken Griffey Sr.?
Not in the Hall of Fame. No, good guess there, Mr. Hott. Laying down the bunt, but foul, is Maldonado. I'll give you a couple of hints.
Let's see. I'm not sure I'm going to get this one.
War number 6.
Honus Wagner. War number 6.
1948, I believe, hit 376.
Wow. I'm old, but that's the year before I was born out. Ted Williams.
Nope, that bunt laid down. They'll go to the third for the force, and they get him. Nice play by Garcia. Very decisive, knew what he wanted to do. So Maldonado reaches first. Galbraith moves to second. Platt retired. Score at 1-5. And there's one man down.
Didn't get it past the pitcher. Made it really an easy play for Garcia.
But he knew what he wanted to do. There was no hesitation.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Well executed.
Yep. And Kitten plan, good anticipation, moving towards the bag. And now
Craig Francis steps in. He reached on a fielder's choice.
Garcia directing traffic there at first base, telling his first baseman not to hold a runner on, with a runner ahead of him.
Pitch down low.
And a runner ahead of him, not particularly fast. So
how many more hints do I have to give you, Tim?
Wasn't Ted Williams.
No, it was not Ted Williams.
I thought he was getting Ted Williams.
Ted Williams was number 9.
Did wear number
9.
He wore 9. Okay, well.
That ball fouled back.
About 20 more hints, Al, at this point. So I'm not sure my
St.
brain
Louis.
Stan Musial.
There you go.
There you go. Okay.
Can you believe that? That was Stan Musial and Ken Griffey Jr.
Wow, no kidding.
Out of a small town, Donora, Pennsylvania.
That's something. Did you ever see Stan Musial play? Were you not old enough to?
No, although he was my dad's favorite player.
I had good fortune as a kid. Yeah, I mean, in fact, recently they were, I guess for the 50th anniversary of the Mets, they've been rerunning box scores in Newsday regularly, and I saw a couple of box scores of a doubleheader, and I remember my brother and I buying tickets, taking the train to the Polo Grounds.
Wow.
I was 13 years old and he was 12. We took the Long Island Railroad into Penn Station, took the subway to the Polo Grounds, and
throw down to third on the attempted steal.
It's an interference call, I thought.
No, they're not going to call interference.
That's one of the fans who's calling interference.
Yeah, no.
And spent 50 cents. You get into the grandstand for 50 cents in those days. And I remember seeing Stan Musial. It was towards the end of his career.
Yeah, of course.
But he was still, I think he's still hitting the 300s towards the end of his career.
Well,
he was not a, when you look at the, interesting that you bring up that era. When you look at the size of baseball players in those days, they were not, I mean, sure they were few, but they were not big people. Stan Musial was not a big guy. Whitey Ford was not a big guy. Nowadays, you look at baseball players, and the Mets bullpen looks like the front court of an NBA team is two guys who are 6'10", and another guy who's 6'7" or something. And Major League Baseball players, it's funny when you watch them on television.
Little chopper foul.
As Garcia has worked himself into a little bit of a jam here, giving up the tying run. But nowadays, baseball players are much bigger.
Bigger, sure.
I'm not sure that they're that much better, and there certainly appear to be a lot more injuries. And I don't know, what the connection is, because baseball players nowadays, like so many pro athletes, don't have to have a second job or an off-season job. They can work out, stay in shape supposedly all year long.
Right.
And I wonder if that, in fact, is working against them. That there's too much working out.
Francis works out a walk.
So Garcia giveth and Garcia taketh away. And he has now got himself into a first and third with only one out. So this is a dangerous situation.
Well, I just have to tell you, I did just look up Stan Musial stats. I was right, 376 in 1948. 1941, and he played through 1963.
I was going to say, it was
first years of the Mets.
Towards 62. 62 was the first year of the Mets.
So 2 years. And even in his last year,
hitting over 300?
255.
Okay. What did he hit in 62?
62, 330.
There you go. Okay. At the 21 years into a career, what was he, 40 years old already at that point?
Let's see.
All right, I would guess 41. He probably played till he was about 41 or 42. I want to say, because he finished his career, I don't know if he was a first baseman his entire career.
I think he also played a little bit of outfield. He played a little bit of left field.
Yeah, but I think, later in his career, he was predominantly a first baseman.
Let's see what we can
spent his entire career with the Cardinals, right? That's something, again, you don't
see that.
You don't see often.
Born November 21st, 1920, Denora, Pennsylvania. There's another base hit. That'll score another run.
So he did. He played till 42 or 43 years old.
Second run of the inning makes it 4-3 in favor of the West as they take their first lead of the ball game.
So Garcia coughs up the lead here. His catcher is going to go out and have a little chat with him.
It's just amazing, though, that today, I look back in high school, where there were kids that were, maybe if you were 6 foot, 6'2", you were big.
Oh, yeah.
But today you see kids in 7th grade that are that size and playing JV football. And, the size of the kids has gotten so much bigger.
When I was a senior in high school, our basketball team at Great Neck South won the Nassau County Championship, which in those days was as far as you could go.
Right.
There was no state.
No state tournament.
There was no state tournament, whatever. And the tallest guy on the team was 6'4".
Yeah.
6'4". We had a high school All-America on the team.
Hit on the ground.
I'll give this, I don't know how you are. Oh, did he lose it on the exchange? Yeah, okay. So
they gave him the field choice.
Get the out call on the exchange. So
2 down and moving to third is Francis. 2 runs in.
And just going on because it is sort of baseball trivia. He was drafted. He never did play baseball, but his dad was the coach of the Knicks back in the late 50s for maybe a year or two at most. And his dad was a longtime scout for the Knicks.
And who would that be?
Neil Levine.
Okay.
Was a high school All-America out of Great. It was drafted, I think, by the Detroit Tigers, and of course had been offered a college scholarship at University of Houston to play basketball. Turned down a scholarship at St. John's where his dad had played from Lou Carnesecca, and spent a year at University of Houston. Came back to New York, redshirted for a year, and spent the rest of his career sitting on the end of the bench because, as the story went, Carnesecca was so pissed at him for having turned down the scholarship the first time, as Garcia finally gets out of the inning, but not without giving up the lead.
2 runs, only 1 hit. There were 2 errors and 2 left on.
And too much action for a pitcher who should have been out of the inning much earlier.